Hey guys, Wasp Walloper here, and the vehicle of the day is the Hornet Mk.III, and I know this plane has its enjoyers, but as you might have guessed from my opinions on previous energy fighters, I do not find this plane very fun. It's a powerful plane, but it's also very one-note and gets monotonous very quickly. It has a great climb, and goes very fast, and those two qualities carry this plane almost entirely. Beyond that, it has a poor turn circle, poor turn rate, poor energy retention, poor roll, and poor general handling. Its engine stalls when you pitch down for slight neg-G maneuvers. The engines overheat, so you need to use manual engine controls with your second supercharger gear best used above 2 kilometers, but its power still diminishes the higher you go past 4 kilometers. The power drop-off past 4 kilometers isn't that much of an issue though. As long as you're not seeing Mk./3s, then you'll probably still outclimb most of your enemies, but I still cannot stand how much of a brick this plane is. You'd think it'd at least turn similarly to the Mosquito, since this thing is supposed to be a direct upgrade from that, but it's a lot worse. It doesn't compress much, so your best instantaneous turn is actually around 700 kph, and the lower your speed, the worse your turn. Doesn't help that despite the great climb and engine power, that the plane's energy retention is very bad, so in a dogfight you really only have one thing that you can leverage, which is your climb. So from purely an airframe standpoint, the plane actually flies a lot like an early jet, with poor turn circle, poor turn rate, and poor energy retention. Though the engines of course make the difference in that it climbs well and climbs best at lower speeds than jets. The guns are fine, the Hispano Mark Vs are alright with good velocity and ballistics. The only issue I have is once again the belt selection, not having any full HE belts. Always at least half of them with some sap rounds that don't do much, so you will be getting an occasional hit here and there. But the guns are nose mounted, so usually if one of them lands, all of them land, and so I did usually get enough damage in one pass. In terms of playstyle, this plane is very much a one-note energy boom and zoomer. Climb at the start of the match, go for the highest enemy, and then repeatedly boom and zoom them or energy trap them if they're silly enough to take the bait up for you. Remember that your advantages are purely just in your climb and your speed. You do not win an equal energy 1v1 against any super prop. Every single one will easily run circles around you. And there are also a fair number of enemies that climb very well, so while you may be able to disengage by running away, if you're fighting these good climbers, then there's a good chance that you won't actually be able to get your energy advantage back that you had at the start of the match. So basically, you never want to find yourself at an altitude disadvantage against anyone, since this plane cannot do any defensive flying apart from just trying to run away. But if you are really out of options, you can maybe try one high-speed turn, since the plane doesn't compress too much, so you might be able to pull off an overshoot if you start turning at 700 kph. But afterwards, if you get stuck in a slow dogfight, then you're kind of screwed. Despite it surviving almost purely on boom and zoom, because of its poor roll and general sluggishness, it's pretty annoying to hit follow-up shots, or really any shots in general on enemies that aren't slow or flying in a straight line, so it takes some time getting used to. Sometimes you're just unable to go for a shot because the enemy dodges correctly, so you have to pull up, reset, come in for another pass. Sometimes the enemy just dives away, and because you can't usually afford to follow them without potentially getting jumped in the future by some other higher up enemy that you did not see, you end up having to let the fish off the hook and have to spend another few minutes meandering up at high altitude looking for the next highest person. In this regard, the plane does have some carry potential, since if you play it super patiently, there is very little an enemy can do to follow you up, and you can effectively be uncatchable unless somebody pulls out something like a BI, but it requires a lot of discipline, and it usually just comes down to how willing you are to waste the enemy's time. And if you're dealing with multiple enemies, then it's hard to keep track of all of them because somebody might just go out of your spotting distance, climb above you while you're engaging the person that you do see, and at that point all you really can do is just run. In terms of strategy, at the start of the match, I do climb a little faster than optimally to try and get above the enemies as quickly as possible. Enemies that start with the ground spawn have to go the extra distance to get to your altitude, so you can pressure them earlier at a lower altitude by doing so. Though if there is a Mk./3 on the enemy team that's climbed optimally, this may be a mistake. It's still not a good idea to dive on the first enemy you see, since because they're at the front of their team, it's usually not going to be the highest enemy on their team. So you do want to continue climbing a little bit until you think you're sure that there's no one higher to go after. It's almost impossible to be certain. Sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes it's dark. Sometimes they've climbed way off to the side so you aren't able to figure out where they are before they get above you, but I'd say maybe stick around for a minute or two before deciding on a target if it's unclear who's highest. Sometimes there's really nobody at high altitude though, at which point you've probably wasted some time getting way up, but it's a precaution that you can't afford to skimp out on in the case that somebody is actually higher and is able to get an advantage over you. Once you've found a target, start high, boom and zoom, work your way down, rinse and repeat. Sometimes if you're sufficiently high enough, it can be difficult to tell who the highest enemy is since they're all below you, so you do want to descend with caution so you can get a better read of the situation. Because this plane's playstyle is so slow and methodical, if you play this way then it's also not that good at exploiting advantageous situations. If your team is on a rampage, sometimes you just end up with 1 or 2 kills as your team takes advantage of not having to deal with as much high altitude pressure since you're engaging those enemies. I guess if you don't care too much about long-term survival or are willing to take the risk, you could just go Unga Bunga after the first enemy you see, and you could maybe make it work with the speed, but if you ever do have to go defensive or find yourself at a lower energy state than an enemy, then it's kind of rough trying to claw your way back up. In terms of the Matchmaker, I got almost no down tiers, it was almost constant up tiers. This isn't actually too bad, I think I might actually prefer this over the one down tier that I got. In up tiers, common enemies include P-51Hs, Bearcats, and very early jets, and while they do have a lot of energy, they also don't have the best turns, so you don't have to deal nearly as much with enemies that are very easily able to dodge your attacks from just turning. Jets in particular have a very similar flight profile to you with poor turn rate and poor turn circle, but going fast, so apart from how sluggish you are when rolling and maneuvering for shots, you can dogfight them at equal energy to some degree and even catch some if you start with some altitude. One last weird issue that I ran into playing this plane, something about the engine exhaust of twin-engine planes on web really screws with my frame rate. I tried messing around with my graphics settings, but I couldn't figure out what it was. It happens on the F82E and the F7F, and it's especially apparent when I zoom in. You'll probably notice some frame drops whenever I zoom in to line up for a shot, and then I realize that it's becoming an issue, and then I drop my throttle back down from web to 100%, and the frame rate returns to normal. Few scenarios before we get into the full matches. Quickly killed a P-51 at altitude, but there was nobody else up there, so I've checked the area. It seems pretty clear, so I'm going to go in for a dogfight with this F8F. There's an F80 a bit in the distance, but he's quite far away and there's plenty of friendlies around, so I should be okay. I should be able to out-energy this F8F since I did come in with a lot of speed, though I did also drop throttle, so it's not the biggest energy advantage. I would have liked to have killed him in that first pass, but I unfortunately only got hits, but I should be able to finish him here. I'm gonna make my exit now. And oh look, it's the F80. Gonna roll underneath him for a dodge, and I get pilot sniped. I could have sworn that he was engaging a bunch of people before, but this is what happens when you have to hard focus somebody for more than like 30 seconds. This match I didn't really get to do anything. Last enemy is a P-51H. He hasn't done anything this entire match, and I quickly checked the stat card. He seems like a relatively inexperienced pilot, so I am kind of playing with my food here. I was wondering what he was going to do if I get close to him. It looks like he's ripped his flaps. Or maybe his landing gear, I'm not really sure. Anyways, pitching back down on him, it does look like he is at least paying attention, so I guess I should finish him off. Okay, he's turning. This should give me a shot. But because of the poor turn and the sluggish controls, I'm not really able to pull in. It does look like his flaps are intact, so I guess it was his landing gear. I'm wondering if maybe I can try a vertical spiral against the P-51. This plane does definitely climb well, so I was hoping that it would at least be able to out-energy it in this sort of situation, but I hadn't checked the graphs at this point yet, but after doing so after this match, it's pretty obvious that the P-51H basically wins against the Hornet in every single equal energy scenario. The Hornet might climb marginally better than the P-51H on the deck, but because I kept turning, the poor energy retention of this plane meant I was bleeding more speed than he was. So even to an inexperienced pilot, the Hornet cannot really win an equal energy or equal altitude fight. So don't play like this. I was just pretty bored of all the previous matches, where all I had done was boom and zoom and I didn't really get much done. So I was wondering if I could maybe get some sort of a dogfight, which I did, and well, this is the result. Anyways, next scenario. The highest enemy is this P-51H, so I'm gonna push him down a little bit. He is just going to dive away, and I'm not gonna follow him because it looks like there's definitely somebody that's higher up, this RE-2005. I'm guessing it's a VDM since he's so high up. He's going to be really annoying to deal with considering how well he turns, so I'm heading over right now to see if I can get him down. Hopefully I can get to him before he kills the Ho-229. Okay, he does seem like he's doing okay, but he is kind of getting double teamed here. RE-2005 dodges away. I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to pitch back up. And in that short period of time, it looks like that P-51 has climbed back up, and so has a G-56 that I did not spot. I guess I should have just meandered at high altitude even longer, because I don't win an equal energy fight against either of these two guys. Honestly, my best shot at winning this fight would be to head on one of them, and then keep running, or maybe drag them down towards my friendlies, but I don't think I have that many friendlies left right now. I was attempting to gain separation, thinking that I might be able to outrun the P-51H at this altitude, or at the very least gain some degree of separation with the G56 before I turn back. And it looks like I am gaining some distance, but he's also climbing as well, so it's not that certain. Well, the G56 is definitely no longer spotted. But I'm checking the scoreboard and it looks like they're squatted. I do see his dot behind me, so they're definitely still tailing me. And I accidentally run for a little bit too long. I end up at the map border. And so, because I got into this bad situation, where I probably should have just taken the head-on, I guess this is at least an opportunity to demonstrate the fact that this plane doesn't compress very much at high speeds, and so is able to get maybe like one good turn to force an overshoot. I'm trying to get as much speed as possible, trying to get close to 700 so that I'm at my max instantaneous turn rate, so that the P-51H compresses a little bit and our performances are a bit closer than it would be at lower speeds. Rolling to change angle, pitching underneath, and then when he's close enough I'm gonna roll and try and pitch over him. And I'm not dropping throttle at all, I'm bleeding a lot of speed just by going vertical and turning. He might have also blacked out there with me, but we're much closer to each other right now. He's going to overshoot, I might get a shot here, and I'm not quite able to twitch my gun in the right direction for the shot. Maybe I'll get another one here? And unfortunately I missed that one as well. I was trying to yank my nose over with my mouse, but maybe it's better to use the keyboard there. I don't know, I seem to be very inconsistent with those shots. I see a lot of people hitting those in montages and I'm thinking, damn, how do they actually do that? I wonder if it's just cherry-picked or if I'm missing something, but if you have any tips for that then I would like to know. At the same time, this plane is kind of just a fat brick, so maybe it wasn't really possible to swing the nose around the way I wanted to anyways. But as you might expect, the conclusion to this fight is just me burning up and dying. And so this is what happens when you don't manage to push all of the enemies below you. And so at the start of the match, you sort of just have to play whack-a-mole and constantly make sure to push all of the enemies below you, since you lose most of your advantage when you don't. This next scenario is the one down-tier match that I was able to get. I was going to go after that K84, but this A6M5 was climbing up as well, so I take a quick head-on with him, and now the K84 is at my altitude. So I'm going to bank my speed back up into altitude, try and climb above him. He is approaching me, so I'm going to try and level out and make sure that I stay at my max climb rate. He pulls off, giving me the chance to turn back. Even with the video of playing at 2 times speed, the turn back is very slow. Now I am heading behind him, but I've lost a lot of speed and energy doing that, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to comfortably disengage if this fight goes on, and I'm not able to get him in this pass. Okay, so he dodges under me. I'm going to make sure not to follow. I'm going to stay up here. I'm just going to turn horizontally to maintain my altitude. And it looks like he was actually just turning back to get the 0 on me. Dodge the head-on. I don't want to risk it too much since this plane isn't very maneuverable, so getting out of the way of the head-on is kind of a risk. But having dodged that head-on, the Ki-84 is able to get an energy advantage over me, and he's going to dive. I should be able to outrun both of these guys, so I'm not too concerned about not surviving, but it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to get them while I had that advantage. I'm going to do a shallow climb to try and regain that advantage, but this is going to take some time, and I've already just not done anything this entire match, so this is feeling like even more of a waste. Okay, it looks like the 0 is turned away. I was hoping the Ki-84 was also turning away, but it looks like he was just feigning it. He's still coming towards me, but I mean, at this point we have enough distance, I think I might as well at least try for a head-on. No sauce. Even less sauce. Luckily I did make them pull off enough so that they weren't able to get a follow-up shot, but it's just, again, running. It seems like my friendlies have noticed that I'm not doing very well over here all by myself. The top of our team is 3 Spitfires who have 5 kills, 4 kills, and 2 kills, so I mean, if you want to play a plane that actually gets stuff done, I would just recommend you play the Spitfire. It just gets a lot more interesting stuff done most of the time. Anyways, turned back for the Ki-84. And here I'm really trying to pull in for this shot, and it's just not following. I am playing this a lot more aggressively now that I know that there are like 5 teammates in the area. I'm hoping that they're distracting and that I'm able to get on the 6 of one of these guys if they ever have to take a head-on or have to go straight. Okay, well the 0 is dead. I'm not even able to pull in for a shot here either. Ki-84 is above. He does not seem like he's going after me though. So I'm gonna try and get a shot here. Oh, he's going down. Maybe I could, never mind. Hopefully he decides to fly straight after this turn. Okay, I might be able to get him here. No, not quite. Okay, he's dead. I'm gonna take a shot and then pull out. Or not. I was pulling full elevator after I took the shot, but yeah, this plane is a bit of a brick and I'm not used to it yet. Okay, first full match. I've climbed very high, and at this point I think I'm high enough. I'm gonna level out. I don't see any contrails, so I should be higher than everybody. There are two P51Hs. I'm gonna go after this guy first because he looks distracted. The other guy isn't really responding, so I'm hoping I can get a shot here. Yeah, the 262 is doing a pretty good job of keeping the P51H distracted and slow. It did not look like that first burst hit. I guess it's just a weird internet desync again. P51H and A2D behind me. I didn't know the A2D could climb that well. That plane is already enough of a menace. I should probably go after them before I go after the F8F that's below me. Though it does look like he's being engaged by two friendlies, so maybe I could go after the F8F instead? Just trying to make sure that there's nobody else up at this altitude, hiding in the clouds somewhere. Okay, well I'm thinking I might just go after the F8F since the B-51 does seem like he's just not coming this way. I'm not sure if he's dodging or evading because of me, but he is maneuvering a little bit. I'm gonna roll over and try and get behind his 6. Maybe line up for a shot. He's turning into me, so this should be a pretty easy shot. But I'm not quite able to lead, so it means I'm just gonna go back up. Just gonna make sure I get enough distance before I reset, since those guns can reach quite far. Climbing up. F8F doesn't have a really good energy retention either, so I might be able to keep him turning and make him lose enough speed that he stalls out earlier. He's definitely taking these long-range shots, but he's not quite able to lead correctly. He's stalling out, but I am a bit of a distance away, so it might take some time before I can get to him before he starts diving. But it looks like he's going slow enough that I should be able to catch him here. Okay, that's a crit. And there's his tail. And very conveniently, the E2D is also right in front of me, and I should be able to catch him, at least right now, in the dive. I'm pretty sure he's a fair bit faster than me on the deck, though. So I do want to try and get him right now while I can. He's pitching up, going slower, so this should be a pretty easy shot. Okay, so that was a pretty free kill. Didn't really have to work for that one. Two enemies left, both of them base bombers. One of them is a G8N that's still at high altitude. So I'm checking the airfield to see if there's anybody around, but in that brief moment that I looked around, I spotted this F3D that was just taking off. So I'm gonna chase him down. I didn't know that I would actually catch him in this situation, but he did also just take off, and he's probably bomb-laden. And I also came in with a little bit of altitude, so it seems I should be able to get to him. But it is taking a really long time. This video is sped up 4 times speed, and it's still taking a while to get to him. He's taking a lot of detours, ground pounding, ground targets, so hopefully that should slow him down a little bit. I'm almost close enough, and he's turning around perhaps for a head-on, but he's not quite able to pull in, and I'm able to shear his wing off. Took a while, but he got taken out. And after a minute, I'm back at the enemy's airfield. The last enemy is a G8N. He has managed to kill a few people while using his gunners at high altitude. So I'm just waiting for him to come out at this point. We've got quite a few friendlies in the area. This Ju-288 decides to say hello to the enemy anti-air missiles. And this G8N seems very hesitant to come out. Keep in mind, he is not returning to base right now. He's already rearmed. He is just camping the airfield. He's not really using it either to try and get an advantageous situation, or to try and force my teammates to come at us one by one. He is just base camping. Okay, well there goes an LA-9. We are running out of time on this match. And we do have the ticket advantage, so he's not really doing this for the win either. I mean, at this point I would have just landed and J'd out if I cared about it this much. I'm guessing he can't see us, but he's using the airfield missiles to try and see how many of us are out there. So I'm gonna pull away for a bit and hope that he actually decides to come out eventually. Friendly HE-162 is also going away. I do see his dot, so I'm going to come in low, hoping that it's heading in this direction. He's not quite close enough yet, so I'm gonna delay my attack. And at this point, there's only like a minute left on the clock, so I might as well turn back in and see if I can get him right now. Okay, he is heading in this direction. This is gonna be my one shot, so I need to make it count. Hopefully because of the dark map, he doesn't see me quite yet. We're also still directly next to the airfield AA, so I need to delay this pitch up as long as possible so that I don't get sniped out by a Roland. Okay, here we go. Unfortunately, I'm underleading quite a lot. And he's definitely noticed me at this point. I really just need to shoot him down right now before he gets guns on. Ooh, okay. I did get him, he did get me. I was gonna die to a Roland anyways, I just saw the missile fly by. But man, these people, the least they could do is at least pretend to use the airfield AA so that they can gain an advantage in a fight, instead of flying around it for a solid 10 minutes, since that footage was sped up by 8 times. Very lucky that I was able to get him within the last 30 seconds of the match. Last match to show. It's pretty dark and cloudy, so I'm not confident that this P51H is going to be the highest up, but he's the one that I do see right now, so I'm going to try and dive on him. Plenty of enemies had already passed underneath me, so I was thinking I'd probably be okay, but he's diving away, so I'm going to pitch back up, climb back up, and I'm going to reassess the situation, see if there's anybody else up here again. It seems clear. The F80 seems like the next highest guy, so I'm going to go after him. P51H is still directly below me, so I'm hoping he doesn't try and climb back up for me. But he is definitely distracted by a bunch of other people, so I should be clear here. F80 is going for the bomber, so coming in for the shot here, it's really hard to see what's going on. And I do see him through the clouds, I'm not quite able to get the shot. Nothing much else I can do here other than turn back around and see if I can get him again on the next pass. There's an enemy F8F below me somewhere, but he's not much of a concern at the moment. Okay, right now we're heading into a bit of a furball. There is quite a few enemies here right now, so I do want to be careful as to which enemy I engage, but I think the F80 is still the most dangerous target. He is the highest up right now, and he's rolled into a position that might make it easy for me to line up for a shot, if I just lead correctly. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna follow that. And having chased him down, this P51H is a lot higher than me now, so I'm going to have to regain my altitude. I am sort of leaving that 262 out to dry because he's full committed to that F80, and there's quite a few other enemies in that area, so I'm not sure if he's going to make it out of that situation alive. But it does look like the other enemies didn't go after me, so I do have the energy advantage now. So I need to choose my next target to go after. 262 indeed did go down, unfortunately. There are like 5 enemies below me, and it's pretty dark, so they're probably going to get unspotted soon. But it does look like that F80 might be trying to pitch up for me. That P51H is also definitely pitching up for me. This is a bit of a risk. I probably should have gone for that P51H first, but this F80 looked like he was stalling out. So I wanted to try and go after him first. P51H is behind me. I'm going to just extend away. Yeah, I'm definitely far enough away that I should be able to climb over him. I do not want to be fighting a P51H with an energy disadvantage, so I'm going to make sure that I'm going to always be above him. A lot of enemies currently engaging my friendlies down there. I was trying to level out, but my fuel starved because I neg-G'd, so I'm trying to roll over first to try and get my engines to not die on me. I am still gaining distance past the P51H, so because I have a fair bit of an energy advantage over him right now, I'm thinking I might try to turn back and hope that he pitches up for me, stalls himself out, and I can energy trap him. This cloud is getting in the way, though. I'm not able to spot him through it. So for now, I'm going to assume that he still sees me, and I'm going to continue this turn. If he doesn't, then he's probably just flying straight, and he won't be that big of an issue either. Okay, yeah, he's just flying straight away. So I'm going to turn around and try and get on his 6. Or, well, he is turning now, so maybe he's also noticed me. He's going under, so I'm going to try and fly over him. Oh, it looks like he's going for ground targets. And, sure, alright. I guess the ground was a little too dark that he couldn't see how far away he was. So now it's a 1v4? Or, well, I do have a teammate Yak15P, but he hasn't really done very much, and he's RTB right now, so I'm actually on my way to see if I can get the people who are chasing him. There is also an F3D behind me, but he seems distracted by the AIs, so I'm not going to go after him. He's not as big of a priority. And here comes a J7W. I do want to be a little bit worried about him in the head-on, since those guns do have a lot of one-shot potential. Plus, it's pretty hard to maneuver out of the way of a head-on in this thing, so I'm gonna actually just pitch up, get over the top of his nose, and try to stall him out, since I know that he doesn't climb very well at low altitudes. And I probably should have kept this more vertical. I was a little scared that he was gonna stall up for me, and potentially snipe me out, but now that I'm going horizontal, this plane's poor energy retention and poor sustained turn rate is going to cause me to start losing that energy advantage that I had when I came into that match. I do still have the altitude advantage, but I wasn't really gaining any position on him in that turn. He does end up diving away. Hopefully he's even lower on energy and I can boom and zoom in here. Okay, he's turning to the left. I don't think I'll be able to pull in for a shot there, so that's the boom. Time to zoom. This time I'm just going to do a straight loop over the top of him. That F8F is pretty close. I'm going to keep an eye out on him on the compass. I have completed the loop, but I'm also not quite able to pull in this time either. Going back up. My engines are overheating, so I'm going to open the radiators a little bit. I am going pretty slow, so hopefully the drag isn't too big of a penalty. But I'm really not gaining any position on this fight. I'm actually just bleeding a lot of speed, and at this rate I'm probably just gonna lose this fight. F8F is getting pretty close, so I'm just gonna have to pull off and take a head-on with him. I cannot deal with the 1v2 right now, so I commit a little harder than I normally would, and it does actually get him. It does look like I still have the energy advantage over the J7, probably partly because my plane is faster than his. Gonna try and climb here, and I had actually forgotten to change back to supercharger gear 1. So I was actually flying with worse engines. Hopefully now that I've actually switched the gears back to low altitude, I should be able to sustain a fight with him better. Okay, he's fully turning back, so I'm gonna be able to get on his 6. I know the J7W doesn't turn very tight, or rate very well, but I'm not certain if it's as bad as the rate on the Hornet. After checking after this battle, the J7W does actually turn much tighter than the Hornet, though they do have comparable turn rates, so it is actually good to be cautious here, and just play this plane to its advantages. He's turning back in, I'm just gonna go up. If he wants to pitch up for me, then it's going to be pretty difficult for him. Yeah, it looks like he's not going to be able to sustain the vertical there, so he's pulling back off. Once again doing a very slow turn back onto him. Maybe I'll get a shot here? He is going pretty slow. Oh, he's reversed his turn, so I'm going to be able to get a little closer before I take the shot. But now I need to make sure that I get it here, because if I overshoot, I don't think I have the speed to extend away from him very easily. I dropped throttle a little bit. Luckily I didn't need to stay on his 6 too long. He ends up in a spin, and that's him going down. Last enemy, F3D. He's been ground pounding for a while. I'm going to go in for the head-on. And dodging. I'm not coming in with that much speed into this fight, and I don't know how much speed he's coming in with it either, so I'm not sure if I want to take the fight vertical. I know he's a jet, and he's a pretty bricky one at that, but if I misjudged his energy state, he might have been able to stick behind me and then get a free shot before I am able to get him to stall, so instead I opted for the horizontal fight. And now that we're both pretty low speed, I should have the advantage since I am a prop. Though again, I can't really be confident that this plane actually rates better than the F3D, because of how poor its energy retention is. I checked the graphs later, and the Hornet actually rates slightly better while having a very similar turn circle, so yeah, this fight is a lot closer than I would want it to be. I do have a better climb than it, and I also perform better at lower speeds, but I'm not sure if that'll be enough to counter the poor energy retention if I do end up taking this fight into the vertical spiral. Either way, for this fight, I hadn't checked the graphs for it anyways, so I was really just hoping that I would have a better turn rate than him in the long run. Okay, it looks like he's just extending away. He is a jet, so he should confidently be able to outspeed me, but he is also starting at pretty low speed, so I am going to be able to catch him right now. I need to make sure that he goes down before he's able to accelerate away from me. But I also don't have that much ammo, so I can't afford to spray too much. And he is dodging a little bit, so I'm trying to be as precise as I can with these shots. Okay, he's turning. This should give me a good shot. Come on, just pull in slightly more. It looks like he's trying to force the overshoot. He's slowing down a lot, so I'm gonna lower throttle. I'm on his 6, but I don't know if this is enough lead, so I'm gonna wait for the perfect opportunity. Here we go. Okay, there we go. That was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Well, that's this plane for you. Maybe if you're good with stall performance, then you can abuse the climb rate to outstall enemies in close-range dogfights, but I did not very much enjoy playing this plane. It's way too much of a brick, and can only really do one thing anyways, so you don't get very many dogfights. It's just not that fun in my opinion, but if you like energy fighters, you like boom and zooming, you like holding your altitude and your energy, then I guess this plane is for you. But that'll be all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!